We've got a masterclass today with Kelvin. So Kelvin's going to be going over his systems in a bit more detail. I won't go too much into it because I don't know enough about it, but Kelvin definitely does. Hence the reason why he's the master speaker for the masterclass for today. If you don't know who Kelvin is, Kelvin's been part of the group for an awful long time. He's been part of the community and many other communities over the years, easily. Probably as long as I've been in business, or probably been alive, he's probably been in business, to try and make him sound really old on this call. But also a great bloke. I know that we jumped on a call yesterday and was spinning some ideas, and he was being very helpful with me to do that. So if you don't know Kelvin, he's a great collaborator, and he's someone that always is someone open to putting out their hand to offer some help. But with that, mate, I'm going to let you take over this call.
Beautiful. Thanks, Jarryd. Yeah, so folks, I guess he just started to give away my age a little bit. I'm definitely, I don't know. Fred might have me, but I'm definitely one of the fossils of this group, and been in tech and all that type of fun stuff for a long time. So today I just wanted to throw off. We've been talking about a lot in this group about doing Facebook ads and how do we acquire people and stuff like that. So far, like I've built now my agency and some of the other businesses around it. We're hitting high 6 to 7 figure months. All right. So, and I've done that with zero ad spend. So I'm going to be sharing today with you the strategies I've used in that business and in other businesses around that's helped me to grow significantly. But more importantly, it's not just about growing the agency and growing the business. It's about having a succession plan, something that will actually get you past your agency life and into what I call freedom, all right, which is what I do. I live in Thailand now. Been living here now for the last 4 years. It's awesome. I work on average about 3 to 4 hours a day max. I've had a pretty busy period this last couple of weeks, but going back to Australia and doing some bits and pieces. But before I guess keep on blabbering on, I've got a little bit of a prezzo to give you. And throughout this whole presentation, there's a whole bunch of resources, and I'm totally okay to give you 100% of everything. So if you want it, you can have it. And we'll go from there. All right. So today's really about your mindset. Quite often as a SaaSpreneur, as a GHL agency, we look at ourselves as we're providing a service. So we look at what the niche is and we provide a service to the pain point, et cetera, et cetera. That's a part of it. And what I want to do is expand your mind a little bit today to go past the idea of being a service provider and to build an ecosystem that you own. It's a very different philosophy. And so I guess what I sort of want to think about is this idea of freedom by design. How do you design a life that is free, that will service you both now and into the future? And it's a shift in your mindset. So it's from having a single solution, SaaS, to having a complete sustainable network and having something that will actually truly set you free. All right, so that's really, I guess, where I'm coming from. And if anybody wants to turn on your mic and jump in and say hello, I've got the chat on here if I can't have it. So just give us a yell. So I guess I'm going to start with what we've been talking about in this mastermind for some time, is about how do we get people, how do we actually acquire prospects and leads and stuff like that. And there's the Facebook ads and the Google ads and stuff like that, and the new AI sort of stuff. These are the technologies and bits and pieces that most of us are using. All right. And we're using it quite successfully. There's nothing wrong. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying there is an alternative. And that's the alternative is, like, I actually started, I tried to run a couple of Facebook ads. I thought, I'll try and scale up a little bit, getting close to my retirement age. I'll try and scale up, run a couple of Facebook ads. And it crashed and burned. All right. I know what I'm good at, which is networking, building networks. And this didn't work for me. Might work for you, which is great. But there's quite a few things that are happening at the moment that you guys, I just want to give you some ideas and thoughts about. So Google ads and Facebook ads and stuff like that, it's costing more and the quality of leads is dropping. Now, that's not just in my experience, that's everybody I keep on talking to. The time to nurture them is taking longer. The tire kickers that are coming in that we're getting into our funnels is becoming harder. All right. That's a global phenomenon. So still works, but it's definitely getting more expensive and it's definitely not as high a quality of lead that we're getting within that process. And so this pay-to-play sort of model is, in my opinion, it's a temporary model. And some of us actually put all our efforts and all our money into a temporary model rather than a sustainable model that will build, which is exactly the model I'm going to share with you today. All right. So I think, who here, like throw it into the chat. Who's here is running Facebook ads? Just put, say, number one, that you're doing Facebook and Google ads. All right. So Jarryd, you're running Facebook ads. Yep. No, Timmy Hyde. Who here is actually doing something like a BNI? Put a number 2 in the chat. All right. If you're doing something like a BNI or in a networking group, and you're getting leads out of that group. Oh, we've got one person. Cool. Maybe we've got something that we can share today. So there's high cost of traditional ads. It's not just the cost, it's also the timeline. For those people doing Facebook and Google ads, etc., from the time you place the ad, you get your thing and you start nurturing them along the line, the return on your investment from an ad can take up to 2 years. You get people in and you're nurturing away and nurturing away and nurturing away. So it's a time for money sort of situation still, which is what most of us try and get away from, but we're spending money to buy our leads, all right? And it's a one at a time marketing strategy. In other words, you're getting one person at a time. You spend the money, you get one person. You spend the money, you get one person. And there is definitely a better way to do it. So our traditional, a lot of people think that if you're going to attract, you got to do an ad or whatever it might be, wherever you get your prospect from, you attract them, you onboard them, you make them really happy and delight, you retain them, and then you make them an advocate. This is the standard journey that most people use. And you create an affiliate program maybe from that, and that's okay. But what I'm saying to you today is relationships is the new currency. With the diminish of the amount of relationship, with AI becoming a very, very big part of our world, people in general are craving relationship, and relationship still wins. All right, relationships still win. So doing Facebook ads is one thing. If you're then going to use AI to do it, you are going to start to, you might get some wins, but you're actually definitely going to have some losses and you might just not know about it. So have a think about those ones. The speed of trust of ads versus referrals. Now, paid ads can take between 6 to 12 months, as I said. My experience is when I get a referral, it's between 2 and 7 days. My conversion rate on a referral is nearly 90%. On a paid ad conversion rate, most of us, throw your percentage. If anybody know their numbers, what's your conversion rate on a paid ad? Most of us, somewhere between 30 and 40% is pretty good. All right. Anybody got any better than that? Throw your percentages in there. All right. Because maybe you can share some stuff about how you're doing Facebook ads later on. But ads compared to referrals, 6% sometimes. Yeah. It's not great. Referrals, and we know this, but the thing is with us, most of us go, oh, I've got a referral today. And you get all excited, but then nothing next week and nothing next week. Like I've so far, here we are Wednesday, we've just had Easter. I've had 67 referrals this week so far. 67. I've got a full pipeline and I just don't know how to manage the number of referrals. So I'm now starting to do group demonstrations and group conversations to convert people. All right, send them to us. Yeah, I'm sure you'd like them, Timmy. All right, but there will be some. So the biggest tip I want to say to you today is this step number one. So this is the process that I go through, and this is straight out of my playbook. This is what I've been doing for years. And my whole strategy is about creating raving fans. It's similar to the advocacy system. All right. But the biggest tip today is start with the end in mind and then build it. If you are just going, oh, my solution is to do ads, or my solution is to do this, that, and the other, think of the end in mind. And that's what I'm going to try and paint a picture for you today, is that a raving fan, or building your advocates and building your people to build an affiliate sort of process, is good, but you've got to have the end in mind. My end in mind is freedom and retirement. All right. Not necessarily retirement that I'm going to stop working, but get out of the agency model. All right. Where I'm actually happen to be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, getting messages left, right, and center, driving us nuts. Most of us are in that sort of boat. Okay. So the raving fan model goes from prospect at the top there. They come a client, you nurture them, and you add massive value. Now, here's the key point. Most of us go add massive value. In other words, we provide that added value. We give them, an extra service. We give them a VA. We do this. The problem with that is it just makes you busier. The key point here in this whole model that I'm presenting to you today is for you to add value without taking you more time. Give them something that's going to give them tremendous value that costs you very little. You get a return. In other words, your customer lifetime value increases and you don't have to deliver it. And we've got some, and I'll throw you through some of those in a minute. Then you proactively, in this raving fan model, once you've actually started to add value, you'll see the people that will rise to the top who are commenting. They're in your social medias. They're saying, oh, these people are great. You seek out those guys and you get your testimonial. Now, again, this is nothing new, but this is an intentional positioning. This is a system that you set up whereby you add the value, you get proactive, you seek out those people who are really your raving fans. And they're the ones you invite them personally to be your partners. All right. Emphasize the word partner, not affiliate. When you actually say everybody can be an affiliate, it then becomes a commodity. When you invite people to become an affiliate, it now becomes something special and they work with you. A very different sort of mindset in building this raving fan model. So after 15 years, affiliates versus ads, I got the 1 month rule. This is the process that I use to be intentional so that it's a win-win. So when I build a partner or an affiliate, I give them this 1 month. In other words, they've got to convert one. In other words, they've got to give you a referral and you work with them to get that first person. It might be you do a webinar with them. You do something with them. You say, hey, how can I work with you to help you get your first one? Then your next target is, how do you then help them to become a no cost to you? In other words, how do you replace the cost to you by getting 4 to 5 referrals, depending if you give a 20 or 25% referral commission? All right. How do you help them get to that 4 or 5 so that they're now free? All right. And it's not costing them any money and they feel like they've got something out of it. Now, my model from here on in, because I work with a lot of agencies / business coaches and speakers, and a lot of those eventually become GHL agencies. And so my model personally is about how do I take them on? Then I ask the question, once I get to that 4 or 5, I ask them the question, do you want to become an agency yourself? And how do I help equip you? Or do you want to just stay as you are and I'll be the back end engine room for your CRM and your agency? It's a question. And at that point in time is where you get the biggest amount of buy-in. Because people who go, you're basically confronting them. And I don't know if it's happened to you, but How many people have you had that have been in your business as an agency, as a sub account, and then all of a sudden they wanted to become an agency themselves? Okay. Now, there's one or two people here in this call and in this group that have been connected to sub accounts in me, and then they've gone off to become an agency themselves, and that's fine. But this is an intentional model where you can actually build an agency, and then once you build an agency with somebody else, they affiliate through you, et cetera, et cetera. So you don't lose them. You just change the model. And and that's where trust comes in. You work with them to empower them to be an agency themselves. And that is where freedom comes from. Once you start to get multiple agency pathways, it compounds very fast, and all of a sudden you're not doing anything and you've got a nice little income stream. So these promotional partners, now these become your army. I've got a whole range of snapshots and bits and pieces. I'm just in the process of updating them. But if you want my whole snapshot, my whole strategy, I will give it to you. All right, freebies, no cost. All my partnership models, all my agreements, all that sort of stuff. If you want that, I will give it to you. Happy to give it to you. It's just in an update mode at the moment, and I'll show you why in a second. So this is where leverage comes from. So once you get into this affiliate partner joint venture model, you'll end up with something that's quite powerful, because now you're tapping into everybody else's network. Yeah, you love Tanya, you love freebies. That's good. I'll get this. This is a pretty significant freebie, let me tell you. So you just got to do the maths. It's really simple, guys. All right. If you know 1,000 people, all right, and then those 1,000 people know 1,000 people, like why would you need to do a Google ad when you got tens of thousands of people you can contact just by building one or two relationships? That's been my philosophy from day one. Okay. So this is how my pipeline is set up when I'm building my affiliate army or my partner army. 1 to 3 days is foundation. In other words, I work with them, they become a sub account with us, and I pick every month, all right, at the end of a month, I look at who are the top 10 people, sub accounts, that are raving fans. And then I start working with those people by themselves. I reach out, we have the coffee chats, Zooms and affiliates, and I ask them, to give me the testimonial and then see if they want to go down this pathway. It's an invitation process. And then basically I go through between 61 and 90. So the next month that's when we activate them. And we try and help them within those first 90 days to get their first 4 to 5 affiliates. So by 90 days, people are now getting their own service from us for free. So that's a fairly simple sort of process. As I said, there you go. You want it, I'll give you the whole partner model templates and everything as well. Step number 2. So the raving fan, that's the end in mind sort of philosophy. That's how the model works. But how do you scale that up? Strategically. All right. So you've got to scale it up from a perspective of using what's the lifetime value of a customer, and get the people used to using the tools that will give you freedom later on. Is that making sense so far? We've got thumbs up. Everybody making sense to you, Jarryd? No, we've got Leon's got some thumbs up for him. Beautiful. So your lifetime value, this is the next step in having that end in mind. So it's not just about building your agency. What is it at the end? So you start to add value. When we talk about that key point from before of what is it you keep on adding value, you start to add passive revenue into your business by adding and recommending tools that you know, like, and trust, that will work for you, that will work within your agency as an income for you, as well as if they break away and become an agency themselves, they become an affiliate of you and you still keep them on board. Okay, let me make that clear. This is where passive revenue and starting to get your lifetime value of a customer goes through the roof, and you keep them basically sticky forever. All right. So you start to earn, depending on the affiliate model, 10 to 40%. And you keep on earning that even if they break away and become an agency themselves, because they then sign up as an affiliate for that particular position. Obviously, there's traps. You got to make sure that the people you refer are good. All right. And we've got some absolute crackers within this Australian network. All right. There's some really good ones around. And also, this is where your own thinking has got to maybe, and you don't have to, but you might want to come up with your own unique offer. In other words, something that you can sell, some sort of SaaS product or something you can deliver that then moves you from being a GHL SaaSpreneur or whatever you like to call yourself, or a GHL agency. What is it you can, as they break away, as they start to grow themselves, how can you actually add some value that's easy for you to deliver? All right. So, which is exactly what I did. I started looking for what were the gaps in the GHL marketplace, and you start building applications and different things. Now, some of you are not going to build some of the application sizes that I have, all right, which are quite significantly large, but there are opportunities galore. And I've already got a list of about 30 different ideas that I went through until I picked out my couple. All right. If you're looking for ideas where you might fit, happy to have a conversation with you, do a one-on-one and give you a little bit of that insight. So some of the no-brainers, mate, Gary Caps. All right. You got my CRM sim. You can add some value to your own marketplace. When they break away, you can now actually do that as an affiliate piece, and that becomes sticky to you forever. White label suite. Now, I don't know if most of you know, guys, this is about, think of what Johan and Walt have just done. For those of you who don't understand what that is, White Label Suite has just been acquired by Dakota Roth from Agency Support. And Walt and Johan have just done what I'm talking to you about today. They've built an agency. They've built an income stream for themselves. And now they've been acquired. All right. They've sold off White Label Suite. White Label Suite within itself, the 4-bot system is bloody brilliant. All right. And it becomes sticky. So there's another one. Agency Support. Bounty is the new, that's, as I said, not everybody wants to create huge applications. You might want to just create small ones. I've actually gone into competition with Stripe and PayPal, etc. So Bounty is a new gateway opportunity. Productivity Suite is my software around project management, etc., etc. And there's a number of people that are in this group that are using it. So these particular ones, and there's more, I've got about 15 of them myself, but these ones are all within, I would call it the Australian network, all right, and very heavily supporting the Australian environment. And they are all extremely sticky. Once people get to them, they stay with them. That's the beauty of when you're picking the affiliates that you want to do. They're the ones you want to be looking at. What are the ones that are going to be able to create an income for you, not just for today, increase the lifetime value of your client, but also be there long-term to give you an income and a revenue when you're ready to be acquired or sell out or retire, whatever it might be. All right, so some no-brainers in there. Here's leverage point number 3. This is where freedom comes from. So we've created our raving fans, we've got all our affiliates, etc. Now, this is where the real leverage comes in. Once you have established yourself as an agency in a particular niche, all you do is you go looking for other peak bodies that align with your target market, don't necessarily compete with you, but will work with you. Now, Leon, we actually met for the first time face-to-face up in Cairns only a couple of weeks ago. I was up at Cairns and I went to the Global Speakers Summit. I was invited there, I sponsored the event. Now, out of that event of 400 odd people, now, got to get the numbers right here, 400 people at the event approximately, I got 738 leads out of one event. just by going to the right place, one-to-many philosophy, talk to a group of people, and they started going ballistic, all right, sharing what I had. Now, that is when you pick a niche, you go hard into it, and then you go to the peak body and you market and you build relationships, strong relationship within that peak body. And if you're wondering where those peak bodies are and how many there are tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of them around just in Australia. Global Speakers Summit, which is the one I went to, all right, that's a global network of over 40,000 people, and I'm now sponsoring them globally. So you only got to get into one of them and you can change your life. But it just takes a bit of time, all right? So something like BNI, I think Tim, you're in BNI, you're also in a couple of others, all right? BNI is okay, all right? I prefer something like BX, all right, which has got another one. And there's another one which is around, which is called Lux events. Lux events in Australia is really taking off. Guy by the name of Steve McManaman, brilliant guy. I'm already his GHL agency within that group. Tim works with them as well. But there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of these types of groups where you can go build a relationship with one, maybe two people, and get those people to then advocate for you into their membership. That's where freedom comes from. Rather than spending an ad, getting one person, 12 months to nurture them. Now, I just continually get these referrals on a daily basis and literally don't have to worry about doing too much at all anymore. Okay. So some of the industry-specific bodies, there's lots of them. If you're in the building industry, you can go to Master Builders. I know that the Master Builders, that was a network that I was available in. There's also the HIA, Housing Industry Australia. Those are two networks that haven't been tapped into if your target is tradies. All right. There's a whole bunch of different financial institutions you can get into. If you're into, it's easy to find. ChatGPT it. What are the business networks in the area you're in, and that will give you a list and a half. The last piece I'll just say to you, this is a new bit of software. It's not mine. It's a good friend of mine, a guy by the name of Derek Morgan. Our affiliate system with inside of GHL is good to track the money, but it's not good to manage the relationship side of things and how you do it. Refer you to is an application. I love the application. You can actually get a copy of it, and I can send you the links if you want to get a copy of it. I'm going to be running a mastermind in the next couple of weeks on what I've just talked about today, all right, in depth on how to build it step by step to build your network funnels and all that type of stuff. There'll be a small cost to it, all right, but you'll get a copy of Refer To. He's going to be launching his app at the same time. I'll give you more information on that. There'll be an affiliate program to it, et cetera, as well. I'm happy to be able to share that with you. But, the ultimate strategy is freedom. This is just give you an idea. This is the model that I run with. As I said, create a raving fan, build a relationship with them, get them to do 4 to 5, 10. And if they want to become a GHL agency, great. You get 10 affiliates and you just get those couple of no-brainer sort of applications to them that I've talked about. You get your GHL affiliate fee from them, the agency support, your My CRM Sim. You start getting money from every one of your sub-accounts, through the bounty for their gateway stuff, white label suite, productivity suite, your own offer. It doesn't take long for passive income to mount up. And that there that's in US dollars. If you relate it back to us in Australian dollars, just 10 people like that, and I have got significantly more than 10, will give you about a 250K Australian per year retirement fund. That's the end in mind. For me, it was about how do I acquire? I could sell off my agency at some stage. I'll have a couple of applications that will run. I'll sell off those as well, keep a percentage of them, and live off the revenue. which is, as I said, it's exactly what Walt, or not exactly, they've had a little bit different model, but Walt and Johan have done this extremely well. It's where I'll be heading to very shortly. All right. And I thought I might take a couple of questions. That's about it. A lot of chat. I had enough.
Guys, if you've got any questions, unmute yourself or chuck them in the chat. I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here, Kelvin, but I wrote down a couple of questions. How do you position getting a new partner?
So it's not unlike when we're doing it as an agency. You've got to know the industry. All right. So you can't just go in there and say, hey, I've got GHL, all right, and I can help you. You've got to say, hey, I've got a significant understanding of your industry. So position yourself as a professional in that industry that you're providing a service for. So I've been a business coach for friggin' 30 years. All right. I've been speaking on stages globally for nearly 40 years. So now I'm starting to show my age. Okay. Once you start to do that, like I've been voted, by Fox Media, ABC, in the top 10 professionals in building business systems globally. Now, you don't have to be at that level. You don't have to have published books and all that sort of stuff. You just got to connect. And once you connect to the right person and you show them you got the expertise, just like you would when you are looking for your first client as a GHL agency, you might have to do something really different. Work out what it is you've got to do different. And I'll give you an example. With GSS, PSA, which is the Professional Speakers Association, I offered to give them literally the GHL agency for free and a VA for free. So I've got a VA agency and as well the GHL. I gave it to them for free. All right. On the understanding within 3 months, if they liked what they had, we would then become their preferred supplier.
Bloody awesome. Yeah, makes sense.
So 3 months, it like that's my marketing. It's a lot cheaper than Facebook ads.
It is.
It's a lot cheaper than Facebook ads. And to get 700 plus leads, strong leads from one event, because I gave away $3,500 worth of VA basic, because it costs something nothing for the GHL, is a no-brainer.
Makes total sense. I guess the other question as well, right, is when you're putting this together, because there's such a fluctuation of percentages when people are doing stuff, and some of these things that people are selling have lower margins, so you can appreciate that their percentages are lower. But do you have some kind of guide around that, or do you kind of go, I build a base and my percentage for these people of building a foundation is this, and then I tailor it back as I grow? Like, how do you specialize in that when putting that together?
Great question. So on my website, Evernote Go to website, productivityhub.tech, all right, is my website. I have 3 pricing models, all right? Software only, $147, I think it is. Software with some other bits and pieces with some basic tailoring is about $300, and one's $647. So they're my 3 pricing models. Okay. That's what anybody can buy at any time. However, when it goes to something like the speakers, I get my highest end and I bring it halfway between the middle and the section. So they look like they get a significant discount, but all I've done is I've taken off the affiliate component to it, and I offer 25%. If you're going to do an affiliate model, anything less than 20 is not of interest to most people. Okay, 20% is your minimum. 25% becomes attractive. If you can get more margin into it, great. But typically, what happens then is your prices go up too high, and they don't become attractive to anybody. And you price yourself out of the market. And it depends on the market you're going for. If you're going for like speakers, they don't have tens of thousands of dollars to spend a month. All right. You've got to make sure that your package is tailored to the particular end market in mind. Vit.
Hey, Kelv. How you going, mate?
Good, mate. Still got to get you on my podcast soon. Come on.
Yeah, it'll happen. Quick question for you. With the affiliate program, have you ever tried to do like a second tier as well?
Yep.
Second tier commission?
Yeah, I do. All right. And I do have it. And that particularly is about the actual audience. So when I talk about speakers, I look at what they do, and a lot of speakers are coaches as well, which means that there's that next level below them. And so if that's a particular strong point, yeah, I'll put a second tier in, but I don't do it for everybody. I literally I tailor the partnership to the person I'm trying to partner with. So if they've got potential to have a second tier, yeah, I'll put it in there. If they don't, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense, because sometimes by adding the extra tier, people go, oh, hang on a second, there's a second tier. And what happens is it becomes a distraction. They then get into the money grab sort of situation rather than how do I help my client. Once they get in, once you get people feeling like this is an opportunity to make money rather than an opportunity to help a client or help a colleague, that's when the power shift changes. That's why I like working with associations, because associations are typically member driven. In other words, no, help the member, help the member, help the member. All right. And so I've done this before, is where, okay, then we'll put all the eggs in the one basket and it will all be the member. And then literally I send a donation to the association at the end of the year. So they feel like they're not getting an affiliate fee, but all of a sudden they just get a nice little donation. All right. Again, it's just a different way of packaging it, and they feel like they've got something for free. All right. And you're just supporting them. That answer your question, Fit?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, I'm just asking because I'm just literally just launching my affiliate program to my customers.
Yeah.
And I've got 20% plus 5% as a second tier. But for my affiliate, for my strategic like referral partners that I've had over the last 4 years, I want to do like a different, so give them like a bigger commission. But yeah, just wanted to take your take on it, because I wanted to roll it out and make it a success.
Mate, like, it's totally up to you. But as I said, 20% is sort of the minimum. Anything less than that, people don't feel like it's enough, particularly in the GHL industry. All right. When GHL themselves give away 40%, giving away anything less than 20 feels like, in some respects, you feel you're being a bit cheap. And so just be really careful. At 5%, I don't know if you maybe have another look at that. Yeah, maybe
5% is the second tier. Sorry, 20% is what I'm offering.
That's what I'm saying. Even as a second tier, like for me, 10% is my minimum for second tiers.
Okay.
If I'm going to do a second tier, it's 10% minimum. 5% just doesn't sound like it's worth it. That's that's the experience I've had personally.
Just as an addendum to that, Kel, presuming that's also dependent on what you're charging and whether you've got margin in it. So you might not give 20% on services if you don't have 20% margin.
Correct. You just got to price it.
If it's software, I mean, GHL give away and ClickFunnels give away, 40, 50%, whatever the number was, 40% for both of them, because they've got massive scalability, and GHL particularly make all their money off that 2 cents on every SMS that gets sent, through Twilio. It's where they're making money on microtransactions. They couldn't give a shit how many, and this is part of the problem with GHL, right? They couldn't give a shit how many people do you have GHL and how many levels of, Ponzi scheme that they've got in the play in between, because they're not making money from the software sales.
Exactly.
If we're making money from software, we need to think about the affiliate, the percentage we can give away.
Yep.
If you were giving away services, you just got to make sure it's scalable, because you don't want to build if you've only got 30% margin gross on services, you're going to build a really, really big business that's just a pain in the ass to manage, and that last little 10% left over is going to very, very quickly disappear into management fees.
Absolutely. And that's why, absolutely. And that's why when I say about anything from an affiliate point of view, make sure it's scalable. It's got to be, here it is. It's not going to cost you any more or any less, all right, with giving something away. Yeah, so you like my CRM sim, it's a percentage. You know, white label suite, it's a percentage. GHL, these are just percentages that roll over without having to you do any more work, cost you any more money, and it's already a built-in factor. It's only when you're starting to affiliate something that you're giving away that you've got to start to think about what your margin is. Jarryd.
Well, what I like about this is, you know, we're talking about a model, but we're talking about a model that's intentional. So I wrote this down earlier when you said it, because we offer this as an agency, we offer this, but it doesn't feel intentional. It just feels like it's there. And so this has been nice because it's been like a mini wake up call for me, because I'm like, well, I know that I already offer this, but I'm not really offering it. It's kind of like, well, when people ask, I tell them that it's there. Or, hey, when I find that I've got a client that's loving everything that we're doing, I mention it to them. Whereas when you look at how you've positioned this, it's actually having this as one of the very first thoughts going forward. And I really like how that model is. And so I guess my question, Kel, because I don't feel like I'm doing this as well as what I could by any stretch of the imagination, especially after what you've shared today. Where's the best place just to start? Because I'm massive on just taking action and moving forward with something. What's that first thing that you can do where you're like, all right, well, I already know my products, I know my margins, my percentages that I'm going to share with people. I want to go to someone with this. How do I do that?
So go back to this recording. Remember my raving fan model. All right. So the first thing you're going to make a decision on is what is it going to be those things that you're going to add value with. All right. The thing that most of you will be doing is adding value that takes you time. And you think that's adding value. And it is, but it's adding value and taking away your time. That's not going to build you freedom. When you can, so the first thing that you're got to do is, what is the 4, 5, 6, you know, as I said, I got quite a number of different things I add value with that doesn't cost me any more time or money. That's the first decision you've got to make. All right. Because that will create the longevity, and it makes it, you can automate it. Hey, you know, when they've been in for 3 months, hey, here's an idea for you that you might like. All right. So you can automate that stuff. The second thing is in your step is to work out who are those 10 people in your network right now that are already your raving fans, the people we would normally call advocates, but who is those 10 people you could actually have a coffee chat with and say, hey, if I help you over the next 30 days to reach out to some people so that you can get your cost to Boulder Digital for free, would you be interested? All right.
Awesome. And so that part all sounds rock solid. I can see how that comes together. But let's say that we're talking about another angle now, and we're talking about wanting to approach someone that's not a customer, but then starting to join a partnership with someone like an affiliation of, say, a commerce or, you know, some kind of industry-specific association or membership where you could then potentially approach them. What does that look like? Are you just doing like a cold call? Are you particularly just trying to find people within that business? What's the approach of doing that?
Well, look, two approaches. The cold call thing can work, but it's generally something you've actually created a relationship with as well. All right. You've got to go to those sort of associations with a level of expertise that makes them look at you.
Yep.
So that's where the original ones I was talking about, once you created your 10, and you've got a couple of advocates that are giving you a testimonial that says, I'm, you know, what have you got a particular niche you work with, Jarryd?
It's more the problems that we solve. So when we're talking about Google Business Profile Optimization or voice or chatbots or VAs, each one of those core services solves a problem. So I've never niched by industry. I've niched by the problem that I solve. And so my clientele is everything from, you know, a mortgage broker all the way through to skip bin hire, as an example.
So this only works in really when you niche in a certain way. Okay. Now, something like a BNI or a BX or a Lux, which attracts a group of different types of businesses, that would be a good space for you to go to. But you've got to build a relationship within that first. So go to your BNI group, start within that, work within that network, but go there with the intention on building a network, which is a one-to-many network, not a one-to-one network. Okay. So you go there, you get talking to the chapter president, you get the chapter president to introduce you to the franchise owner, all right, which is the way that BNI works. So you get your chapter president, who's the person who looks after the little group, but each of those little groups are owned by a franchisor. That's the person you want to get to.
Yep.
Because that will then, and your chapter president will get you to that franchisor. That's the person you get to. That now broadens your perspective.
I hear. Like, let me hot seat this on myself for a bit. So as an example, right? Last week I was talking to the group about how I'm trying to break more into the local community, and I'm looking at putting together a speed networking event at the end of this month, and then including a few different people like Tas Leadership, the Chamber of Commerce, other people that have a particular audience come along to that. So we're going to have, fairly confident people that are going to already be network savvy. What would be the steps of approaching that? Do you how would you approach that? Because I genuinely want to know this. How would you approach that, knowing that event's taking place? You're not the smartest guy in the room, but you're definitely the guy that helped bring the smarter people to that room. How would you position that?
So I would look at that in two completely different strategic moves in my mind. All right. One is you are literally going into a room full of these, like-minded people. Your intent should be, who is the one or two people with that are going to be the partners I'm going to go on to. Okay. So you're positioning yourself, that event is in some respects your fishing event.
Yep.
Okay. So you're fishing for the one or two people that you can now partner with into their network. And so the one or two people that really engage with you well and you're going to build up the rapport with, you use that event as a leverage point to go to the next level.
Okay.
Don't try, if you try at that level to get business, you become the jack of all trades.
In what way? What do you mean by that when you say you become the jack of all trades?
Okay, so you've got a fairly general sort of offering. You say your VA and all that type of stuff. That's going to be what you're going to be talking about. Absolutely. All right. That you can pretty much help anybody. However, when you're trying to help everybody, you really end up not helping to build your partnership. Because the JV partnerships want you to help their members with their member problems.
Yeah, cool. So if I was to say the problem that I like, well, I've got those three different services, but definitely the one that we're kicking goals with and we're getting our name out there for is our GPP optimization, without question. And so that's then where we start breaking down into that and niching in a bit more. So as an example, right, is GPP needs local service-based businesses to be able to benefit from that. So all of a sudden then we're starting to niche down into what you're suggesting there. So that potentially is what we could be looking at is, finding that one thing. And this is what I often say to people is you can have all these different services, especially with high level, but have that one thing that you do really well and then just really focus on the audience that's being attracted to that. So I think you've helped me answer that question now.
And it's still about niching.
Yep.
Nothing I've said here, it takes away anything we've always said is what are you good at? What can you deliver? What will solve the pain? And then what's the group? And then once you've got that, I work in multiple groups. It's not like I've got you look at the speakers coaches network. So the GSS, those speakers work in everything from health to well-being to leadership to the amount of variety is huge. But what brings them together is speaking. So that's what you talk about. All right. So you've got to work out when you bring all these different sorts of networks together, what is the one thing, the one pain point? It could be the Google stuff that you're talking about, just talk about that.
Yep.
Talk about the other 15 different things. Talk about that and how that solves a point, and wait for somebody to raise. That's the way I would approach it. Wait for somebody to raise it where you can actually go, oh, good question. Good question. Good question. But then there's one that really resonates with you that you can drive into. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does.
And that then helps you to niche and to create a connection point with that particular person.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Thanks, Kel. Guys, did you have any more questions that you wanted to throw at Kelvin while we're here? This has been great, Kelvin, because we talk about marketing and advertising, and I think that this one's kind of slipped through the cracks as far as a topic to talk about over the year so far. So I'm really, really happy that we're able to cover that today.
And it is an intentional thing. Like that, who I am personally, and you've probably already found this out today, because I like to talk. All right. And so I'm a bit of a social, I'm an entrepreneurial friggin' gas bag. And so talking to people and relating to people, sometimes you've got to be a little bit better listener than I am as well. That helps.
Awesome. Guys, anyone else want to ask any more questions before we wrap it up? Except for Ben. Ben's leaving us. Farewell, Ben.
See you, Benny. See you, man. Good to see you, bud.
Silently eating lunch in the background, I see.
And I see Rob here, up, mate. It was great meeting you up in Cairns, buddy.
You too, mate. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Always good to have people up in Cairns.
Yes, mate. Get up there.
Yeah. Next year we'll do it again.
Yeah, mate. I'll be up there. I want to jump on the boat next time.
Just a follow-on thought. I had Jarryd just on that percentage question that Vid raised. How much do you give away from an affiliate? I don't think it's I'm just thinking, like, a couple of years back, I had a client. Now, this is maybe 30 years now. There was a guy I met through a networking group who was giving away 7%, right? And it worked out to be, it was 10%, but it worked out to be like 7 cents, right, per client you referred. It was just ridiculous. It was so inconsequential that it just didn't make any difference, right? But if you're selling a $2,000 app to, I don't know, an engineering firm or a small corporate or something, and you're giving a 5% affiliate commission, right? So it's the amount of money has to be big enough for someone to pay attention to make it worthwhile, not the percentage.
Yep.
So if you're selling, $47 apps or $97 apps, like I know there are lots of people out there, you've got to make the affiliate commission a reasonable percentage to make the $50 actually make a difference, right? If it's 20 cents, 20%, and it works out to be $10 or $20, what are you going to do with that? I was like, it's not fucking worth it.
Yeah.
But if you're selling a $1,000 app and you're saying every time you introduce me to someone, I'll give you $200 a month for this, then all of a sudden it starts to make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a week's worth of groceries.
I'm going to throw another one in there, and this is something I've just found with Bounty, right? So Bounty being the Stripe alternative. Now we do 2-tier, 25%, right? But we're running with a single tier at 25% at the moment. It'll split into 2-tier later on when we get the right affiliates. But the return in some cases is really low. It sounds 25% sounds high, but when you look at the actual dollar figure, because it's on their turnover and that we're talking about very low percentages, for some people it's going to be like $5, and it doesn't sound like a lot. However, it's extremely sticky. So once you actually get the person in, that $5 can turn into 10, can turn into 20, can turn into 30. So when you get that, I totally agree with you, Tim, that if the percentage is high, but it's only a couple of cents, and that's all it's ever going to be, but if you've got an offer that's got, that starts at a high percentage but a low dollar rate, and it's going to get bigger, make sure you communicate that well.
Yeah. Also depends on type of affiliates or partners that you're working with as well.
Exactly right.
Like, for some people, affiliates are a thing. Other companies, they couldn't give a shit. It's just too much of a pain in the ass.
Well, that's exactly right.
Like if I sell out, I got a couple of clients who are in the sort of $30,000 plus a year range, right? And the referral partners that gave me those, they're like, just fucking do a good job and don't make us look stupid, because we've got other services that we sell that we focus on.
Yep.
And others are like, I want the affiliate commission.
Here's something I learned, all right? And I learned this the hard way, is people who say, oh, I'm not doing it because I want the affiliate fee. Bullshit. I'll call bullshit on that for most people. They say, oh, no, I want you to just look after my client. I'm not really worried about the affiliate fee, until they find out how much that affiliate fee can be. Okay. So, and I found, as I said, I found out the hard way, whereby they come back to me after it saying, gee whiz, you must be making a good amount of money out of my referrals. What they were basically saying is it's time to start paying me. All right. So just be aware that while they might say that it's not important at the start, just look after my client, eventually, if it adds up to be a lot of money, people will eventually have a change of heart. So I personally, whether person says I want the affiliate fee or not, I still stick it aside. Yeah. Just like I done with the PSA, you know, I literally would just send a donation. I still send it to them, whether they want it or not.
I've had both of those as well, Kel, where I've had people that then go, hey, you know, just wanted to look at changing that to that model. And then there's other people that I just pay regardless. I just go, hey, like I'm sending I know you're saying you don't want it. I'm just going to send it to you anyway, because at the end of the day, I often say to people, what you're doing is you're saving the advertising dollars by trying to find these people. So I'm happy to pay it. Like,
here's a little trick for those people who are doing this, and you get a person that doesn't want the referral fee. All right, put your own email, but literally name it, but put your own email address into the portal, so that they're not going to get all the affiliate marketing sort of material. Okay, but it tracks all of their affiliate commissions, so that if you want to send it off, you can. All right. And all you then got to do, which is what I've done in the past, is I just say, hey, can you send us your bank details? I've got a bit of money to send you.
Yeah, it's a cool idea.
It just takes away that marketing sort of feel that it's, you know. Yeah. And I also suggest what we're starting to do now. We're building our own affiliate links into Bounty, so that we don't have the normal, you know, Boulder Digital /.com /affiliate 1579654 Jarryd. You know, those funny little links that affiliate marketers do. Try and get yourself something really simple.
Awesome. Well, Kelvin, thanks heaps for this, man. Like this has been a completely different angle to what we've been talking about over the past couple of months. And I can already see people clapping in the background here to say that they've enjoyed it too, no doubt.